Welcome back to another episode of the Experts in Fire podcast by Woodland Direct. I'm your host, Mike Vennard, and with me today is Randy Mowry, one of our master hearth professionals. Today's topic is how electric fireplaces create versatility in commercial installations. Let's get into it. What's up, Randy? How you doing, man?
Good, man. How are you today?
I'm doing great, brother. I enjoy the weather changes here in Michigan. You know, grew up here most of my life and then took off around the country. I love the places that I lived, but once I went south and west, they didn't really have changes like this. It would get cool, but I gotta admit, man, I love it when it starts to get cool. It's one of my favorite times of the year, brother. Getting around the fire with a sweatshirt on and having a nice wood fire going in the backyard. It's pretty great to me. So I'm enjoying life right now. How about you?
I know it was great this morning. I mean, you know, I lived in Texas for a number of years, as I know you did, and it was just hot.
There's no other way to say it. It's just hot.
There's no other way to describe it. No matter how I looked at it, I had clothes in every office because I knew I'd have to change my shirt in between stages.
Yep. Well, hey, man, we're getting together today, and we're going to talk about electric fireplaces. And I tell you what, electric fireplaces have really begun to take off out there in the marketplace. What we want to discuss is how electric fireplaces create versatility in commercial installations, because I know we run into a lot of issues, especially with our designers that we work with. I tell you what, designers are so talented. I watch what they do and how they lay things out, and it's beautiful. But then the talent runs into technicality, right? I guess that's the best way we can put it.
Yeah.
And sometimes you hit a space where there's just no way to add either wood burning, which isn't super common inside of commercial environments. Usually it's gas. So let's start there, Randy. Let's just talk about gas in commercial environments and then some of the problems, I guess you'd say, that gas can run into in those situations.
Sure. I have a lot of contractors that are building a ton of commercial properties, whether they're hotel resorts, colleges, universities, clubhouses for multifamily properties, things of that nature. Gas fireplaces, they do seem to be in that commercial application. Some folks are getting away from it, and it's mainly in a lot of areas where they just can't get gas to it, or maybe they can't get the chimney venting, the venting that needs to vent that gas appliance out. Or maybe they've spec'd or they've designed multiple fireplaces in multiple areas of the space, and it just doesn't make sense for the venting part of it in gas. And that's where electric is really coming into play in a lot of, especially hotels. Give you an example, a couple years back, we did a big hotel down in Gatlinburg, and I think we did like 115 electric fireplaces in that facility. We put one in nearly every room of the hotel, not only because they spec'd it and called for it, but also it was for safety. It's a peace of mind. It's safety. Electric fireplace is just no different than turning on a TV, and they look great.
You bring up two aspects. I mean, you brought up one, which is new builds. And a lot of times with new builds, the request is gas. I mean, we still get a ton of requests for gas fireplaces going into new builds. So let's stick with that for a minute, and then we're going to jump over to remods, things of that nature, especially inside of those commercial environments, because within the industry, you will see a 7 to 10 year changeover. So they have the building, they have the facilities, they have the resort in place, but they just need to update and upgrade. And we'll talk about the difficulties with gas in those scenarios. But first, let's talk about new builds. You're 100% right, Randy. When it comes to new builds, people are beginning to recognize, you know what, electric is a great way to go. And I think a part of the reason, and I'll let you speak to this, is in the last 7 years, I would say in the last 7 years. Most people might say 10, but the looks of an electric fireplace have changed drastically, maybe even within the last 5 years.
Oh yeah, it's amazing. I mean, I have 3 electric fireplaces in my home just because it didn't make sense for me to do gas. And I have three of our different manufacturers in my own home. It's incredible. People are in awe whenever they see them. They're just super cool.
You have fire-related questions, and we have answers. You can email us your questions at podcast@woodlanddirect.com or give us a call at 586-221-3638. We would love to be able to answer them right here on the Experts in Fire podcast. Yeah, so one of the benefits, and I'm sure people who are tuning into this podcast are that have a history or a knowledge of electric might have wrinkled their nose just a little bit, and I get it. If that's you out there, I get it. But I'll have you know that there are some beautiful options when it comes to electric fireplaces today. So, give us a call sometime, jump on our website and check those out, because there are some really, really neat things out there. So when it comes to new builds, the simplicity of putting in an electric fireplace, I mean, really, you're just running the electrical to it. Talk to what type of electric it takes, Randy.
What's nice about the electric, most of them are 120 volt, just your standard electrical outlets that they're already running within the facility to plug in appliances. They're just very simple. The other thing about electric that is nice is electric units come in with the ability to have a heat source, 5-10,000 BTUs. You can get a little bit higher on some models if you change the voltage, or no heat at all. I mentioned the hotel that we did where we did 115. Basically, all of the heating elements were disconnected so that somebody staying in a room could not turn the heat on and inadvertently leave it on. Right. So from the safety aspect of it,
right,
they're very safe. So we don't have to worry about that. It's just an easy disconnection of the heat source, and the heat will never work. So that's where a lot of the designers, architects, and property owners love electric units. And like you said, not to take away from gas, because I do a lot of gas units commercially every single day. We're specifically talking about electric units in commercial areas where maybe it just doesn't make sense for the property owner, the designer, the architect to do gas. And electric that's where this fills that nice void for them. And it's a couple things. It's sizing. Maybe we can't get the gas in there, but they want a 120-inch fireplace. Well, we can get that in electric. Not that you can't get it in gas. You can get it in gas. But just from a framing aspect and installation aspect, the electric is a better application for that particular project. That's where it's really been awesome.
Absolutely. I think of, a lot of the resort areas by the water, some on islands, they don't have access to natural gas like the rest of us do. So they're stuck with, propane. And now they're thinking, how am I going to run propane to all of these different rooms? Do I want to run propane to all of these different rooms?
Sure.
Right?
No, exactly.
Electric becomes an excellent option for them and for those scenarios. Randy, when we talk about electric, can you discuss a little bit of the differences between the old school, how they used to just have a spinning wheel inside of them, and some of the advancements that electric fireplaces have made?
When I think about this, my grandmother, she had one of these, and it was high tech back in its day, and it was incandescent light bulb with a foil wrapped piece of wire and a little itty bitty gear on the side of it that just spun, and that thing would just it would just try to simulate that wood as best as possible, as best as it could on that, with that incandescent bulb. And boy, that sucker would get hot. I remember because I burnt my finger on it once. Wow, what is that? Oh. But nowadays, so obviously they've come a long ways. Everything is LED lights, multiple color lights. Some of the electric units, not only do they have the LED light background and a simulated flame, What they've actually done is in some units, you can get them with basically a pre-recorded of a real wood-burning fire. And
Yeah.
essentially that's playing, and if you really didn't know better, you would think it was a real fire going, because it is a real fire. It's a real fire, but with the simulations of the flames of LEDs. So they have come a long ways. It's really good technology for there. And even if it doesn't have the sound, the units that I have, for, speaking from my own experience at my house, they don't have sound, but they are just really super cool to look at and just have that ambiance of the fire inside of the house where I can't have the gas.
Yeah, that I think that's the best part of the advancements that have come along. The flames with the LED lights, the flames are random. It's crazy, as I've stared at them and watched them, I'm like, okay, I'm going to figure this out. And you don't, that random flame will show up every so often, but it's pretty cool. And then you throw into the aspect of you can change the colors on it now as well. I think that is fun for everyone. So new builds, they have the options. They have the option of going with gas if they want, but if they don't have the ability to use gas, electric is a great way to go. They look great. They have the ability to run the wire, like you said, just for a simple plug. And then the thought in my mind is, especially at resorts, you have kids, you have, different people coming and going all the time. It's simple. And the thought of any kind of danger arising, it really helps limit that type of risk.
Yeah, because the glass front, there's no heat transfer there.
Right.
So we don't have to worry about wandering hands of patrons going through a facility, touching the glass and electric, because there's no heat transfer there.
Right, absolutely. Okay, so let's dive into remods. And, here in the Detroit area, we've gone and met with designers in the city of Detroit, and they have shared with us some of their pain in terms of we have these beautiful buildings in Detroit. And it is. I love Detroit. It is gorgeous downtown. And I'm so thankful. I'm so thankful for the people who do an excellent job of taking care of that city. It has done nothing but get better and better and better over the years. Props to the city of Detroit. But when you go down there, the buildings are old and they're gorgeous, but you can't run a gas line through multiple stories as well as through multiple rooms in order to get gas fireplaces everywhere. And that's actually why we were down there to talk with these designers and their builders, was to be able to give them some options. What are some of the options that if our listeners out there, whether they're gas pros or they're designers, are listening to this and they're saying, hey, I really need an answer for this. Walk me through. Randy, I've got an old building in Detroit and I want fire. What can I do?
So, in applications like that, old buildings, it's going to be placement. Where's it going? Are we going, are we working off the first floor? Are we working off of the 10th floor? And wall mount units, of course, when it comes to the electric fireplaces, is the easiest. So with wall mount, you can get electric fireplaces that will mount on the wall just like a picture frame. They're surface mounted, so they may be 4 inches depth off the wall. Electrician will just build an outlet behind the wall like they would for a wall mount TV. Okay, and then they can mount a TV right above it. Or they can do built-ins. Built-in is we're going to cut a hole in the wall, they're going to reframe it with wood, and they're going to take a unit that may be 4 to, depending on the unit, 12 inches in depth, and they are going to build that into the wall itself so that they have as flush as possible look with that wall, with the electric fireplace that is just going to operate on a standard 110-volt source. Very easy installations for both of those.
When it comes to design, and really a lot of times it's going to come down to, I don't want electric, I want something fire. And you just can't, right? Bottom line, the codes say you can't, the building is telling you can't. So here is probably the best option for you. I want to point out, The simplicity of electric fireplaces is the fact that it's plug and play, right? Whether you build it into the
For
wall
sure.
or whether you just hang it on the wall, you can change these things out every 3 to 5 years if you want to. You know what I mean? As designs change, you can hang something new on the wall. But it's simple and it's elegant, and the options now they're just beautiful. So within that, you still run into that scenario of, no, I want something that's going to look real, but we can't put fire in there. The major point that I make with these misters, anytime I talk to somebody, Mr. Steam, I think it's steam technology would be a better way to put it, is
Right.
now you go from the simplicity of just plugging it in to you have to plug it in and supply water to it. So you have to keep that in mind when we talk about these, whether it's somebody going up there and manually filling it, I would not suggest that, or a drip that's going to keep that water at a certain level. I'm going to let you talk to that, Randy, because these things are amazing. I have seen these things in action, and somebody has stood there staring at it like, what is this magic that is going on? And somebody else walk by and stick their hand into it, and the person physically respond by going, oh no, like they were going to burn themselves and didn't
Yeah.
realize it isn't even a
Yeah.
fire.
It's the magician of electric.
I love it. I love it.
It really is. It really is. The technology in that is just amazing with the misters. And like you alluded to, I mean, we have to have a water source. So they can be hard piped. And just think in terms of piping a line for a refrigerator. The plumbing kit for it is just that. Typically with these types of units they're going to be available in like a 20-inch or a 40-inch, what they call cartridge mister. These things can be laid in a manner to, if you're using 240s, you're at 80 inches. You can do 40-inch units and a smaller 20-inch unit and have 100-inch. It's indefinite. I mean, you could line these things up all day long, and then you're going to connect all the plumbing kits together. The units themselves have a built-in reservoir, and that's what's containing the water. And it has like this inducer piece inside of it that helps create this mist. And then the mist itself is coming up out of the system over LED lights. It gives you a simulated flame, and I mean, it looks real. The nice thing is you have log kits that you can put on it, so they actually look like real burning logs, because the LED lights are actually going to also display almost like the burning effect of the logs. The misting coming up out of it is going to display like real smoke and flame coming out of it, but it's not.
Right.
It's non-toxic, it's non-flammable, it's non-heat. There's no heat there. Like you said, you can run basically your hand, and people do it all the time.
Yep.
They're afraid to at first because they have no idea. Is this
Yeah.
like a light beam that's going to take the tops of my fingers off? They really don't know. That being said, we're talking about electric. There is a product in electric for every application. The other cool thing about talking about misters is we get this all the time, Mike, is I want a see-through fireplace, but I can't have gas. I need electric. That's where these types of units come into play, whether it's in a restaurant, a hotel, or in your home. This is how we could do the see-through electric for you.
This is a great conversation, and I hope the folks that are listening out there understand that there are some great options when it comes to electric fireplaces. And I think they get a bad rap because in the past, electric fireplaces have been the things that you saw when you walk into the furniture store. You walk into the local furniture store and there's a cabinet that you can put a TV on top of, and there's an electric fireplace kind of built into the cabinet. That's really where they got their boom. And they have come a long ways since then. I remember some cabinets that were just an orange glowing light with a picture of logs. And now the flicker of the flame and the random patterns. And then, some of it is fun too, because you can just change the colors. You can have it look like a fire in color, and then turn it to blue if you want, or purple, or whatever. There's a lot that plays into it, and there's a lot of cool things to consider when it comes to electric fireplaces.
Yeah, and one of the things we didn't really, I wanted to touch on because we didn't really get to it yet, Mike, was like some of the clearances. I find that a lot of the architects and designers are speccing electrics for specifics to, and we always talk about TVs, but we don't have the heat transfer for a TV above. But then more importantly, if it's in a grand hall of a hotel, they want to put a super extremely nice painting above a fireplace without having to worry about something happening to this painting, or whatever it may be. Maybe it's a collector's piece or something. They don't have to worry about that. It comes up all the time is, what about this thing says it has like 10,000 BTUs of heat? Just to kind of reiterate, that heat it's a simple, I don't hook it up. They just disconnect the wiring on it, and it doesn't even have the ability at that point for somebody to accidentally turn the heat on with the remote control, because it's disconnected. It's a couple wires, and they don't have to worry about whatever they have hanging over top of it. So that's the other thing too, is clearances. We don't have to worry about those types of things, where when you're with gas, completely different story. But the electric, this is where a lot of electric comes into play in a lot of commercial properties, is not only the ease of installation, but also what is going to be in the surrounding area of the fireplace itself.
Yeah, I think you bring up a solid point there, Randy. In the past, an electric fireplace, they did want to use it for heat. I think of my childhood and the number of homes I walked into that either had some type of plug-in electric heat or kerosene heat. Oh my gosh, kerosene.
Oh,
let's
my
not
gosh.
go there.
Please.
But it was plug it in. There was a glowing light, so it looked cool, but it also had heat for a small space in someone's home. Nowadays, the electric fireplaces are so good looking that it's more about the look and the ambiance than it is the heat. And like you said, some people don't even use the heat. They don't even connect it. So I'm glad you brought that up. That's a solid point. And just the versatility of what you can do with an electric fireplace. If you have any questions, or if you have something that you would love us to walk through or just talk about, email us at podcast@woodlanddirect.com. Or if you just want to give us a call and leave us a message, you can call us and leave that message at 586-221-3638. Randy, once again, brother, pleasure. So glad you were here with me, man, spending some time and just helping our customers and clients out there. I appreciate you, bro.
My pleasure. No, my pleasure. Have a great afternoon today, Mike.
You have been listening to the Experts in Fire podcast by Woodland Direct. I'm the host, Mike Vennard. Thanks for joining us today. Next time, we'll be talking wood fireplaces, differences between a prefabricated box and modular box. We'll see you then.